Hi, welcome to Visual Studio Toolbox. I'm your host, Robert Green, and joining me is Mark Miller of CodeRush. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing great, Robert. How are you doing?
Great. Welcome back onto the show. Mark's been a guest on the show several times, showing off the latest and greatest in CodeRush.
So, CodeRush is a developer tool. It's a Visual Studio extension, and it's all about productivity, increasing developer productivity, increasing quality of code, making it faster to navigate. That's the essence of what CodeRush is.
Okay, it's free. It costs massive amounts of money. What do we talk?
It's free. It costs zero amounts of money. And now that I hear myself say that, perhaps we've made some business decisions incorrectly. We need to rethink this maybe. No, it's totally free from DevExpress. Go out to devexpress.com/CodeRush. You can download your copy of CodeRush, and it is free. In fact, everything I show you today will be essentially free, but there are some API keys required to get to get some of the functionality working. So I'll explain that maybe by the end, how to set this up. Okay.
Okay, and you've been with DevExpress for quite some time.
Yeah, since .NET came out, as I recall, about 2003.
Okay, people can watch you and Twitch. There's your link there. Anywhere else they should go to learn more about you and what you have to say?
If you go to devexpress.com/Mark, M-A-R-K, you can see my blogs. And if you go there, there's probably going to be one or two blogs on this technology here. So if you miss anything, you can do the catch up there, find out how to set this up, that sort of thing.
Okay, so what are you going to show us today?
All right, let me jump over to this view here so you can see the code. I've got the font zoomed in really big here so you can hopefully see it, and maybe you could do something too where we make me a little bit bigger in terms of
Remember
that.
how? There we go.
There it is. All right, cool. So basically it gives you AI code generation and AI search inside of Visual Studio, without having to type anything in, without having to switch to another window. It's all integrated. It's faster and cheaper than competing AI tools that are out there. I'll explain why as we get into it. Why is it faster? Why is it cheaper? Right now, we're in this sweet spot where we've effectively leapfrogged in a number of different areas in terms of speed, in terms of cost, and in terms of UI. The UI has a leapfrog as well in terms of easier to understand what's happening, easier to undo or redo, that sort of thing. So there's a number of leapfrogs, significant leapfrogs in this technology that exists right now in time. I'll start right out here. I'm in this calculator class, and let's come down in here and let's notice that these are integers here, and maybe it would be better to have a calculator that works with doubles instead. So I can just look at this and I can now invoke the feature, which is triggered by voice. And if you don't like talking, you can also type if you prefer that. But I'm going to use voice for the whole demo here. So
Okay.
to do this, I'm going to just double tap on the right control key, and then I'll say what I want. Hey, can you turn the ints inside of this method into doubles, please? Now, the please is, of course, optional. Our robot overlords, they're okay with both of those. And now we can see the changes. So the changes have taken place right here in the code. This UI appears right here. I can hit next, F8 right there, and it'll go to the next change. And F7 brings me to the previous, so I can go back and forth, and I can see those changes. Okay.
Cool.
All right. Now let's come down in here and let's say, let's go ahead and we'll just accept this. We'll accept this suggestion right here. I'll just go in there like that. And let's now double tap again and say, hey, can you add the method that is missing? So instead of having to type something very precise, I can instead kind of ramble on. Because rambling is effectively okay when you're dealing with AI and you're talking to AI,
It's
right?
the
So
way you think. It should be the way you talk.
yeah, so I can speak to AI as if I was speaking to a colleague,
Mhm.
right? And do that. So we've got that. Let me close this down. I guess I should also show, look, I can undo, right? Or I can just hit undo and undo and undo and go all the way back to where we started. I can come in here and go into the redo and notice you can see there's AiGen converting to doubles. AiGen added divide method, right? So it's very clear in the undo stack and the redo stack what's happening. Also notice that when I redo, we've got the UI back up again in case I want to navigate or I want to take a look at differences to see what was the before and after, that sort of thing. So here you can see we've added the divide method here.
Ah, okay.
So this is your summary of changes over here with the little icon saying, is it a plus or is it a minus, meaning we deleted something, or is it a delta, meaning something was changed? And then you can see an optional difference right there if you want to. Since we've just started building this class, it'd be nice if we created some test cases for it. Here's some tests over here, but it's for a different class. So let's just double tap on the control key and say, hey, can we get some test methods for this class? And we should see a file added, hopefully into this folder right there. There it is right there. And you can see these are the test cases that it created for us. Let me zoom out just a little bit. Let's maybe start by
create a new test project. If it didn't exist, it does all that.
No, I don't think so. Right now, it would not. Right now, there's a good place to talk about limitations. So creating new projects is something outside the scope of this. So you have to create a test project first. But one of the things that's inside the scope of this is detecting what your test framework is, and then creating tests to match that framework. Okay. So for example, here it's using NUnit because it saw that I was already had some package references out there. So this is one of the cool things that's happening here in terms of providing context is we are giving AI a rich context about your project, what references you have in that project, and the classes that you're working with. All of that, we're giving all of that to AI so AI can make some good assumptions and avoid hallucinations that might have to do with other frameworks, other UI frameworks, for example, other frameworks you might be depending on. Okay. All right. Let's change some of these methods here. Notice that all of these methods have these hard-coded values in them. Right. I'm noticing that one thing. Also, I'm noticing even though we support doubles, it's throwing integers in here. So we don't have any tests with doubles inside of it. So let's fix both of these things. What I want to do is I want to take all of these and turn them into parameters using the test case attribute, which is something that's supported by NUnit. So I'm going to double tap on the control key and I say, hey, I noticed all of these methods in here, all the test methods have hard-coded values inside the methods. I would like to instead use test case attributes and essentially redefine all of these. And instead of just having one test case attribute, maybe add a few more, and let's pass in some doubles as well, because we're not testing any doubles in any of these tests.
Wow.
So, as I mentioned before, rambling is okay.
Yeah.
Right? You can say something fairly complex, and here's our new results here. So we've got 10 and 2 with the expected of 5, which means we must be doing a divide. And there you can see that right here. 5 and 5 expected is 10, which means we must be doing an add. And there's it is right there. So now we can run these test cases. This is CodeRush puts these icons in the file. And we're starting the test run over here. And there it is. You can see 16 have passed. Nothing has failed. So just to be clear, right, in case it's not clear what's happening, I'm using my voice to augment an existing class, to create test cases for that class, to augment the test cases as well, right? I'm improving quality as I move forward, and I haven't typed anything on the keyboard yet.
Right.
Let's go
ramble, which in voice is a lot easier than if you're typing. It's hard to type rambling.
By the way, we can come in here and we can go through these. We can pop up that difference view and you can kind of see what's
How do you get the
happening.
difference view? Is that the keyboard shortcut?
I'm doing a keyboard shortcut, which is F9 when this is up, but you've also got this button right here. So you can hit that button to see that. And once that difference view is up, it stays up for all these as you navigate. And notice behind this UI, we're navigating to the code, so you can see it in the code as well.
Cool.
Right? I got this all zoomed in so you can see it easy, and it's easy to read, but this will work, of course, across multiple monitors at a smaller font. And so you can see what's happening at each location. Now, it's a good time maybe to mention that, look, not all AI responses are going to be 100% accurate, right? There may be something that's wrong. So of course you want to, back up your changes with test cases. You want to evaluate all the test cases, review it, go through all the normal processes that you would do when you're using AI as a tooling
Interesting
assistant.
statement, because I'll guarantee you that not all code I type is accurate. So not sure.
I know.
My assistant expected to be somewhat better than me.
Yeah, so let's do something new. Let's add a brand new class. So I said before, we cannot create new projects, but we can create new classes and new types. So I'm going to double tap on the control key and I'm going to say, hey, I'd like to create a new user class that has some properties: first name, last name, and birth date. And I'd also like it to have a unique ID, ideally a GUID, that's initialized on instantiation. And so there's an example, right? I kind of explain what I want to create, and I get it. Now, I just want to
I got a random
emphasize.
question. Let me interrupt 1 second.
Yeah, go ahead.
So at some point, so you're not holding down a key while you talk, right?
No, wait. I double tap and hold is what it is. So it's a tap and then a hold
Okay.
while I talk.
When you release the key, that's when it starts.
That's when it starts, exactly.
So if you sit there and wait 15 seconds before you say your next thing, it's okay. It doesn't assume you're done yet.
Right.
Release the key.
It's when you release the key. It's like a push to talk, but you double tap before you start talking.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Okay. Notice, by the way, and roll back the video to watch this. Notice how fast that was to create. That's much faster than doing it by hand, much faster than switching to another window and asking another window or typing in what you want, right? There is no faster way to get a class like this quickly, right? That's what I'm talking about in terms of speed. It's very, very fast, and it gives me what I asked for, right? Yep. First name, last name, birth date. There's my ID. Okay? All right, I'm gonna now copy this to the clipboard. With CodeRush, all I have to do is put the caret like right there and hit the copy key, and CodeRush realizes there's something smarter to select, so it selects the whole thing. That's built into CodeRush. It's been there for about 20 years, but that feature is there. I'm just copying it to the clipboard. Now I'm gonna go over here into my window, and I have nothing inside of my window yet. And I'm gonna double tap, and I'm gonna say I'll say what I want. Hey, I'd like to create a data entry form for the class user, which happens to be on the clipboard. And I want to instantiate a new instance of the user and assign it to the data context for this form. So I'm just going to stop there. Now, again, one of the things that's cool is, look, we're in XAML, but XAML can be in a lot of different frameworks, right? There's a lot of support, but the thing, we're sending over rich information about what UI framework you're using. So we should not see hallucinations like placeholder text if I'm in a WPF application, because placeholder text is a property on text box that does not exist.
Okay.
Okay, so what do we have here? We have, again, I'm just hitting F8. We've got a current user property. Okay, cool. I like that. Additionally, is data context. There, you can see that. All right, and we're creating a new user. Okay, I'm okay with that. Submit button click. Okay, cool. We're getting some feedback. So it gave us a submit button, which I didn't ask for, but that's okay, because if it didn't, I was going to give it, I was going to do one anyway, right?
That's good, because it's smart enough to know that most user input forms, data entry forms, have some way to save what you just typed.
Yeah. So now you can see, look, we've got bindings that are here, and
Mhm.
the bindings are matching the property names. Look, text, it gave me a text box called text first name, binding first name, right? Matching the properties that we had in that user class that we copied on the clipboard. The implication is, wait a second, did you send my clipboard up? And the answer is yes. And why did this clipboard go up? Let's go into options and let me go over to triggered prompts. I said the word clipboard. And if I say the word clipboard, then we paste the contents of the clipboard and along with this text, and it modifies the prompt that we send to AI. So you have full control over what goes. You can have things that always fire no matter what every single time by creating a regular expression that's dot star and whatever text here goes up every time you ask a question,
Mhm.
right? And you can add additional context here. And this is just a CodeRush feature. So you can say this only applies when we're in C# files or when in an NUnit file, that sort of thing. Like this one right here matches the word test, test, testing, or tested, and just simply comes out and says, here's what my test framework is.
Does this
It's,
work with VB as well, by the way?
oh, so VB, not yet, but I'm not sure I can say soon, but we're like
Okay.
right on the edge of flipping everything on for VB. So
I have
not
a
yet for
I
VB.
have a buddy who's a VB guy from days gone by. He's just kind of a hobbyist. He doesn't really feel like learning C sharp. This would be perfect for him.
Okay. So there you go. Yeah. Let's I'll let you know when we get the VB up and ready.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Now let's say we didn't want the submit button. Well, let's actually just run it. Let's run it and see if it works. Actually, let's wait, there's a change I want to make before we run it. Um, hey, when we instantiate this new user, we're not giving it any great first sample values. For testing purposes, or for my purposes right now and running this, I would like it to have great sample values, like John Doe with a birth date of, like, say, 32 years ago. Let's see how we do there. So a little bit of rambling in that. And there we go. There's our new constructor. And there's the birth date. And now let's run it. Now we should see John Doe in the form. Right there, John
Sure.
Doe. There's the birth date. Right there. If I change this to Mark and Miller, like that, and I hit submit, there it is right there.
Cool.
Okay, so we got a data entry that is working. What's cool about this is you've seen it, I can make changes, I can create new classes. I can even do small things. Take a look at this. I'd like to create a class called fraction with a numerator and a denominator. So you've already seen this, and it's pretty fast to do this, but what about things like even a single line of code? Sometimes I use AI to create a single line of code. For example, can I get a debugger display attribute for this? Debugger display attributes are notoriously difficult to write because there's no IntelliSense and you have to get the property names right
Mm.
in there, right? And it is faster for me to use AI to generate this line of code than it
Yeah.
is for me to try to move the caret up there and type it in. That's an example of a really small change. Um, let's augment this. Hey, I'd like to add operator overloads for adding, subtracting, dividing fractions, but I'd also like to get operator overloads for the comparison operators for fractions. So let's do that. Again, operator overloads are not easy to write, right? There's often a lot of effort involved in there. And let's see what we've got. I'm going to zoom out a little bit on this, and you can see all the ones that we've got up here at the top.
Holy moly.
I've got a plus, operator minus, times, and divide, which is perfect. So I can say fraction A variable divided by fraction B variable, whatever those are. I can do that. We should create some test cases for this. I think we should do this. Let's do that right now. Can you create some test cases for this class for me? And in our test folder, I'm expecting those to show up over there.
It's just thinking, it's doing. There we go.
Okay, here we go. We've got some test cases. We have the same problem we had before, but let's run them. Let's just run it and see what we get. Okay, we got one fail. Let's take a look at the one that failed. Why did that fail? Let's take a look at this. This is the CodeRush test runner right here. There's our fraction test right there. This one should have returned same value. Interesting. 2/3 is not equal to 4/6. Well, they are equal, but in our internal representation of them, they're not equal, right? So
Why is that?
because we're not simplifying, right? So let's go in and simplify that. Hey, I want to make sure that every new fraction created is simplified.
We've been able to ask it, why did this test fail?
Yeah, you could. We could do that. Um, uh, let's demonstrate that actually. This is interesting. This is taking longer than I thought it would. There it is. Okay. And what do we have here? So we have GCD is one of the changes, and our constructor has been changed. So let's ask a question about this. Let's just do this. Hey, what does this GCD stand for? So now instead of asking it to build code, I've asked it a direct question.
Right.
And let's see what the response is. Here we go. And so this comes in here like this. Let me resize this so you can see it all on screen. Stands for greatest common divisor. So you can get your answers back if there's no code change, like that. Okay. Let's rename this method so it makes more sense or is easier to read or something like that. And there you go. Calculate greatest common divisor. Okay. Now let's run our test cases again. Repeat last test run. That's a CodeRush voice command. We talked about those the last time I was on the show. And let's see, what do we have? Oh, it looks like I have got, GCD. Oh, it looks like it did not rename the other piece down below. It didn't catch that. Too bad. All right. So let's maybe undo that a second. And let's try it again. Let's rename this method so it makes sense and make sure you update any calls. So, as we've said before, AI response may be inaccurate. Now let's see what our changes are. We have this and we have that right there.
Okay.
And now see what happens here. I'm seeing a couple of errors over here. It looks like system math was added from before. I don't think we need that. And then there's a project reference thing. I don't think that's a problem either. Let's see. Build is now working. Repeat last test run. So we'll try that again. And I'm seeing a problem. It says multiplication expected 6, but was 3. Oh, that may be because we're simplifying now. So let's go look at that failed test. And we have what? This times that. So that's going to be 6/20, which simplified is 3/10. And we should be able to rerun this and that should pass. And then the last thing I'll show is AiFind.
Okay.
After we run this last one. I'm expecting this to pass now. Are we running? I can't see that we're running. Let me try that again. Run test. There we go. Now we're running. And there it is. It passed.
Okay.
Okay. So let's do AiFind. So let's go into this class and we're going to double tap and just simply say what we're looking for. I'm looking for any methods that deal with implicit conversion or comparison of fractions.
Project, whole solution, just that class. Where's it looking?
It's looking only in this class for now. The for now is maybe a hint in terms of where things are going.
Right.
but it is for right now only looking in this file.
Okay.
It's still incredibly useful if you're working with files that are growing in size, for example, or if you're working with legacy code or code you're not familiar with, or code you haven't touched in like months, and you just want to find that thing. You know it's there, you forget what it's called, that sort of thing.
Perfect.
But it's also great at collecting things, right? So now all of these comparison operators are now selected and found, and I can navigate among them, right? Very, very cool. And I can do the same thing with controls on a form. I can come over here to, like, for example, my XAML, and I can say, hey, I'm looking for any controls that have data bindings in them. So we're here, and here we go. Those are our results. So we got, and there they are. So it's found those results. Similarly, I can come in and I can say, hey, any controls that have data binding, I want to add a style to them so I can individually control their attributes. And let's start by setting the font size to 36. Okay, so got it. I'm now saying find anything that has a data binding and add a style and make that default style so that the font size is 36. And see what it's done in all of those. You can see that. That right there we might call the aha moment. It's the aha moment right there. It can, so it's, you see what we're talking about. We're talking about speed. It's cheaper. I didn't talk about why it's cheaper. It's cheaper because fewer tokens are used in the communication, right? We optimize what's sent and we optimize what AI has, the burden on AI to come back. So AI's got a smaller minimal burden. So as a result, the speed is generally much faster than competing tools. And
Okay.
there's no UI thing where I'm grabbing the mouse and clicking, trying to get over to another window, typing in my prompt. I can still type it in if you want. There's still a way to do that. But we're really minimizing the amount of user burden for invoking AI and bringing it into the Visual Studio environment.
Do I need anything in addition to CodeRush and Visual Studio to do this?
Yes, in order to make this work, you're going to need two API keys. One of the API keys is for OpenAI,
Okay.
and you're going to need also an Azure Speech Service API key. You'll need both of those. But my monthly cost in Azure Speech Service is less than like $1 or $2, something along those lines. And then whatever the OpenAI key, whatever that cost is as well. That varies depending on usage, number of tokens sent and received, that sort of thing. But in general, they're both very reasonable. My OpenAI bill is not more than $10 a month.
Okay.
In fact, I've gone several months, spending about $10 across the month. So, so that's how you set that up. AiGen, AiFind, and AI Ask, if you will, are essentially stateless. They understand the state of the application in its current space, but
Mhm.
they do not have a record of our discussion. And I use Copilot when I want to have an interactive discussion going on from some starting premise and then building on that. Copilot is excellent for that. I also use ChatGPT as well. So
Mhm.
I will, depending on where I want to be, depending on the strength of the model, that sort of thing, I'll pick one of those tools. So I'm actually working in all three tools all the time.
Okay, perfect. And then this isn't, one for one in terms of what it can do. Copilot just introduced agent mode, which we covered
Yeah, agent mode is
in our
ag-
17.14 release party.
yeah, agent mode is a killer feature
Mhm.
from what I've seen. It is amazing, and there's nothing that AiGen or AiFind is doing that is close to that. Where it's all about you having control right in here and you guiding and interactively working with the AI.
Okay.
That's more of the focus. Yeah, no, I think I am a big fan of interacting with AI on all levels, right? From my perspective, it makes no sense to exclusively use just one of these tools because they don't, there's often scenarios where one of these tools is better than the other, right? So I have them all. I work with them
Cool.
all the time.
Which if you think about it is kind of the whole point of this show since I
Yeah,
invented it however many years ago. It's the toolbox.
I did it. I win. I win the prize, the secret prize.
This is awesome, Mark. Thanks so much. Thanks for coming on the show again. And we will have in the show notes a link to download this.
Okay, Robert, thanks so much.
All right. Hope you guys enjoyed that. And we will see you next time on Visual Studio Toolbox.